All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you guys to the AFC where we advocate for children first. We'd like to welcome you guys, and we have a guest on the show today by the name of Early Walker, and he is the gentleman that is spearheading this movement. Like, it's so much positive stuff that I want to say about this, because of my perception. But you guys have a website called I'm Tellin Don't Shoot.com. Does that sound accurate? Did I state that correctly?
Yes, sir. www.imtellingdon'tshoot.com.
All right, and guys, welcome Early Walker to the AFC. Man, brother, how are you doing today?
Man, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute honor. So I want to start first of all, and kind of tell us as far as like I guess your journey up to the point of where we are now. As far as what I saw from you is that I saw that you were doing a news interview, and you guys were in a group. You guys are business owners and entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and it seemed like you guys are at a point to where you're like, you know what, we have to do something, we have to be proactive, and we really want to see a change in our community. Would you like to kind of speak on that and kind of let us know where you are in your journey?
Yeah, so I'm Telling Don't Shoot is an organization that I came up with, pretty much comprised of business owners, business leaders within the community that are pretty much fed up as it relates to the gun violence in Chicago. As you stated, you guys have heard, we have been getting hammered with gun violence, and it hasn't just started. But the I guess the gist or the anger that pretty much pushed me to begin this initiative was the fact that we have been losing our children, have been losing our kids. Just recently, today, we had an arrest made for a 7-year-old that was just shot a couple of days ago. We've had 1-year-olds being killed, 3-year-olds being killed. So it's gotten out of hand. And so, yes, I mean, as you state, all of them, I believe they are watching. They have the link at least. It was last minute, so it wasn't my fault. It was Jay's fault. But but yeah, absolutely. We are fed up. We are tired, and we pretty much want to send a message that we're not taking it anymore.
Right, man. And I'm gonna tell you something. I've watched a lot of people get up there and speak, especially in the area of Chicago. And the reason why I guess it means a lot to me is because a lot of the stories that I have picked throughout my channel, I could probably say I've probably done about 10 different stories, whether it be like a collective situation where it were maybe multiple people hit, or whether it were like an individual child that was hit or something like that. And a lot of times what I used to hear on those videos when it comes to the news interviews is I would hear pastors would come out. You would have these I guess they called themselves community activists and things like that. And it just didn't seem like anybody had any type of tangible solutions. It seemed like they just came out and just say what they always say, and then you just kind of go back to normal, in my opinion. So that's really what kind of drew me into what you guys do.
Absolutely. You hit it on the head. And I'm going to say this for the record. I am not an activist. Matter of fact, when you reached out to me and you sent me what should I put for the title, I said, did not put activist. And I want people to know that I'm not an activist. I'm not trying to be one. I'm not trying to sign up to be one. I am a businessman, a concerned businessman as it relates to my community. Like I said, we're tired of losing our kids. We're tired of losing innocent bystanders, our elderly. I mean, it's just literally gotten out of control.
So let me ask you this. What made you decide to take a stand and actually offer real solutions that people can take advantage of now?
So, as I stated before, it starts with us. Change starts with us. The solutions start with us. And I think that oftentimes, we have forgotten that, there's strength, in numbers. And I can go out on my own and try to combat this problem. But what if I were to have 10, 15, 20, 30 individuals longer? We are going to stand up. And so that's the issue is that, I've come to business leaders and I've asked several of them to, help join with me, join forces, and let's fight this together. So we have put our dollars together, and we have pledged to make offer rewards as it relates to the killers with the minimum amount being $25,000. And I stress minimum amount because our goal is to get to the point where we are able to offer $100,000 for each killer that is killing our babies, our elderly, our women. I emphasize that because growing up, that group or that category was off limits. Mm-hmm. And this become the norm now where that's normal. Here it is. I mean, it's normal now for a baby to get killed. When in the world is it a norm to lose a 1-year-old, to lose a 3-year-old, right, to lose a 7-year-old to gun violence?
Right.
If that doesn't piss you off, if that doesn't get it to the point where you're fed up, I don't know what will.
I 100% agree. And I've always said this, and you don't necessarily have to speak on this portion, but I use it sometimes as an example because you have a lot of people that will speak out and they'll say things like black women are the most unprotected group in America. And I sit back and I think, and I'm just like, so do the children's blood not count? Does their innocence not count? Like, they are the smallest, the youngest, the weakest of us. They depend on us for each and everything that they get. And it's really kind of disheartening, the fact that just in general, it seems like even with like the things that have set off the recent riots and protests and things like that with the Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd, which a lot of people have already forgot about those names, by the way. They're just out doing crazy stuff. But nonetheless, it seems like they care more about those two grown individuals, and even one of them has seen at least a good portion of life already. But what about the babies, the 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds that didn't even get a chance to even start school yet?
Absolutely. And that should be the turning point. We shouldn't have to wait for something like that to hit our doorstep for us to want to get involved. Growing up, it used to be a community. Everyone used to worry about everyone. I got more whoopings from my neighbors at the time than my parents. Mm-hmm. I got whoopings from my teachers at school, and then a whooping when I got home. But now it's kind of like, we literally have let everyone just do what they want to do. And I do fault the judicial system to a certain extent, because at the end of the day, there have been laws that have been put in place to pretty much protect, the kids, so to speak. But that's not an excuse, because at the end of the day, we can be the change. We can be the difference. We can be the voice. But we have to all get fed up. We have to get to the point where, what is the breaking point? What is our time when it's like, okay, enough is enough?
Mm-hmm. Right. I totally agree. Let me see. Let me ask you this. As far as the family dynamic in Chicago, like, I know of a lot of other places, like I'm originally from Oklahoma City. I know kind of what that family dynamic is like in the neighborhood I grew up. A lot of kids didn't grow up with their dads. And what was so funny was the fact that I grew up in a 2-parent household, and my dad ended up being like the father figure for a lot of them kids around there. And they would just kind of flock to our house. You know what I mean? But we do know that a lot of our children are born outside of the social construct of wedlock. And with the majority of our children being born outside of that social construct, it seems like they don't have the stability. And one of the things that I stress on my platform is one thing that a mother and father will give you generally is going to be balance. Because men are generally logical, women are generally emotional. And I think that you need a good balance of your biological mother and father to be there. And I could be speaking wrong, but it seems like a lot of these... Okay, and you can tell me if I got this right or wrong. I've always said that the reason why these young men, these young boys can go out and murder people indiscriminately like this is because they don't have any self-value in themselves, because of the fact that they didn't grow up to see somebody that they should grow into becoming. Like, they didn't have that fatherly example. Therefore, if they don't value themselves, they're not going to value anybody else and their property and the things that they've worked for. Would you agree with that? Would that be a fair assessment?
I do agree. There aren't any role models stepping up, or there are not enough role models. Let me rephrase it. There are not enough role models, because there are role models within the community, but there are not enough role models that are stepping up. growing up, as you stated, there used to be more groups, community groups. There used to be more functions as it relates to our boys' clubs and things of that sort. But now it's kind of like, all of those things have pretty much went away, And so at the end of the day, it's kind of like you've got kids raising kids. What are gangs? I mean, these are cliques that literally, it's gotten so bad to where, you don't have the normal gangs that we know of, GDs, BDs. You don't have that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What you have now are a group of kids that have come together and said, today we're going to be the Mo gang. Or today we're going to be literally, they're naming gangs after they homies that's getting shot.
Oh,
and
wow.
these gangs aren't organized. They're block by block now.
Mm.
So imagine they're not organized. You don't have any leaders. You don't have anyone for them to follow. And then on top of that, they're all over the place. From 79th to 80th, you got one block. From 80th to 81st, from 57th to 56th, block by block. So you got hundreds and hundreds of gangs with no leadership.
Wow. And me and you, it seems like you're about the same age as I am. I remember a time when the Black Panthers were out, and it seemed like we had one big thing that was meant to be positive for the communities, that we were supposed to be policing ourselves and protecting ourselves. Then it seemed like it went from the Black Panthers, which was a black movement, to the Red and Blue movement, which was the Bloods and Crips. And originally it started with the Crips because of the fact that it was like a community. God, I forget what it stands for. It's an acronym. Crip is actually an acronym. But it was meant to be something positive. It split up into two different things, and then it seemed like from there, it split up into more, and then it split up into more, and over time, it just seems like it continues to just keep degrading over time. When you start out with something that was good, and then it just turns out to just be such a bad thing, and it's so widespread.
It is. It has literally gotten to the point where, you hear a lot of individuals say, hey, why don't we let out some of the, the chiefs? Larry Hoover, for one. And I honestly don't feel like that will help now. We're past that stage. And the reason being is because a lot of these kids, one, they don't know who, even though they say on Larry and they call these guys names out. But the problem is that they don't know who these guys are because they weren't brought up under that structure.
Correct.
So the issue is we sent all of the chiefs to jail. We locked all of them up because the government thought we lock all of them up, we get rid of them, we get rid of the problems. Well, the problem is that what they didn't understand is that these gangs were way more structured than they thought. So when you locked all these guys up, you locked all these chiefs up, all you did was, over time, created a huger issue because now you've got gangs. You got a real gang issue because here it is, you've got unstructured gangs.
Mm.
When we got a project that we used to have called Cabrini Greens. But they tore that down. They thought that was a way to fix. We tear Cabrini Greens down, tear the projects down, and let's send everybody to the suburbs, which that created a whole nother issue. But my point is, we used to have a project called Cabrini Greens. Within that project, if you shot someone, a kid, if you shot a woman, shot an elderly person, you know what they would do? They would shut the whole project down. They would shut the drug operation down. This is what the heads would do.
Mm-hmm.
And that would basically stop all of the money from coming in until they turned in the person who killed the kid. So they turned in the person who killed the woman. Now, you don't have anyone that's over the head. You don't have them listening to anyone. So once again, it goes back to where's the structure? Who are they listening to? Who's running the show? You got kids telling kids what to do. They just literally, and then let's not throw the whole equation in of drugs. Yeah, we had drugs back in the day, but man, they mixing pop and cough syrup and Pedialyte and anything they can mix together to beat that high. So now here it is, we had drugs, but you had coke, you had all the time, you knew your typical drugs, but now it's like to the point where they just mixing stuff that ain't supposed to be mixed together. Right. So you got these kids off these drugs that's all amped up, and they going out here, they shoot, they don't even know, what they doing because their mind is gone.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. so that technically kind of answers my next question, which is why is the violence so prevalent? And that's really because, like we say, they don't really value themselves. They're doing a lot of drugs to themselves. And then it's kind of because generally when it comes to respect is usually something that's earned, and it's earned over time. And if you have a bunch of people that have kind of come up when you've come up, and you look at this person and they're pointing at each other, they're just like, hey, I don't have to respect you. You don't have to respect me, and nobody respects anybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that leads me to my initiative. I'm literally, if you say you fed up, well, I'm giving you a loophole. I'm giving you a window, to be able to show that you're fed up. That's why I've called the initiative. I called all the business owners to come together. And this is not just a city issue. I mean, we saw earlier on the news, Ricky Smiley's daughter just got shot. So you know what that shows us? And I mean, I'm grateful that, she didn't die. But that just shows us, once again, this is not just a Chicago issue. This is a nationwide issue. And it's going to take all of us, I emphasize that, all of us to come together, to galvanize, to take our community back. And unless we come together and put our dollars together, we should all be able to stand on the forefront and offer $100,000 when somebody shoots one of our babies. We should be able to offer $100,000 when one of our elderly is taken, just as an innocent bystander. Let's put the pressure on them. I know violence isn't going to stop. These fools are not going to stop shooting each other. They're not going to stop killing. But we can force them to stop killing our babies. And a lot of people ask, well, why so much? Well, the community has been plagued with a sense of fear.
Yeah.
So I want it to be to where when they talk, when they tell us what's going on, we're able to relocate them. We're able to move them out of the area that they're scared of. Unfortunately, our witness protection systems have failed us. Unfortunately, our witness protection system has it to the point where, listen, Mother Gardner not turning her little son in because she's afraid that her son is going to come back and blow her head off. Because guess what? As soon as she leaving the police station from giving a witness statement, he beating her home with an ankle bracelet on his arm. He already showed you he don't care about shooting. He don't care about pulling the trigger. So what makes you think he cares about coming back to blow his friend head off? Because now you're a sellout. Now you're a snitch. I mean, that's where the whole snitches get stitches come in at.
Yeah.
So in order to break that code, we have to be able to provide these individuals with a way out. We have to be able to provide them with the means of setting up a whole nother lifestyle to where they're not afraid, to where they're not scared, to where they can move on and feel safe and feel secure, which is another avenue. So I've had several different phases as it relates to this. The first phase was, of course, the reward money. The next phase was getting our community involved, pulling in the security companies, our local security agencies, having them help the police. This is not just a police issue. And that's another key thing that, I want to emphasize. This is not all on the police. The police is only a percentage of our population.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. Let me ask you this, because while you were talking, you made me think about something. Have you guys been met with any opposition yet or any people that have looked at your situation and said, what you guys aren't going to do, what you guys are doing isn't going to work, and it's not a good solution or anything like that? Because I know how crazy and how nitpicky people can be when we start offering real tangible solutions. Have you met any opposition on that yet?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, let's be real. I mean, you're going to always have individuals that are going to tell you what you're not doing right, what you can't do. And I always tell people, well, hey, if you're not a part of the solution or trying to give a solution, you're part of the problem. So I don't let any of that faze me. I don't let any of that bother us. I have partnered with a strong group of individuals. I am glad to say we have literally been getting responses from all over the world. I mean, hence how we met. So we have gotten to the point where we're actually going to be taking this national. This is going to be a national program, a national pilot system that we're going to have. I'm telling don't shoot in Texas. I'm telling don't shoot in Pennsylvania. I'm telling don't shoot in Atlanta. Because why? As I stated earlier, this is a national issue.
Yeah.
It is, you're in Texas, and you told me you guys having the same issues. Same shootings. I had a Houston cop that called me and said, anything I can do to help you. And this was before Ricky Smiley's daughter got shot. He said, anything I can do to help you, please don't hesitate to call me. Because he wants to be able to, in return, receive our help when that's how it should be. We should be able to pick the phone up, and tens of thousands of people should be able to flood our communities to shut our areas down and demand justice. The same way, as you stated earlier, same way we fought for Ahmaud Arbery, same way we fought for George Floyd and several others, Breonna Taylor. We need that same outrage now.
Thank you.
These are our babies. This is our future.
But
no one's speaking out. No one's standing up. We're scared.
But don't you,
of our own community.
But don't you think it should be like that, where the police, and really, like I say, they're paid by us, by our tax dollars. Shouldn't they be able to reach out to the people in the community to be able to help come up with these solutions, or even to help kind of quell crime or stop crime or report crime? Like, I feel like we should all be actively participating in that process. Don't you think?
I agree. But I mean, it also starts with putting more police officers in place that look like me. That's another key issue. You can't sit here and have a community or a certain part of Chicago that's 80%, 90% black, and then you got 80%, 90% police officers that are white. That's a problem. I can relate to you. You can relate to me. Officer Billings can't relate to us. He doesn't know how to handle us, which is the reason behind the George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. That those are the reasonings, because at the end of the day, that's my issue. And so we have to be able to address those issues. We have to be able to address those concerns, because at the end of the day, if we don't address those concerns, then you're right. We're not going to talk to I'm not talking to Officer Tom Smellings, but I'll talk to Joe Williams, Officer Joe Williams, because Joe Williams grew up with me. Joe Williams is from the hood. Joe Williams he went a better route. So I can holler at him and tell him what's going on the block. I'm not doing that with some of these other, because you know why? We don't trust them. Yeah. And that has to be another thing that is dealt with. How do we build that relationship back? But the way we build it is we put officers in the communities that look alike.
Okay, I like that. Let me ask you this. With the initiative that you guys are putting out there, which is basically offering a monetary reward for people coming forward with information that leads to an arrest. And I'm going to tell you the key distinction that I thought made your movement even more dope was the fact that it is not contingent upon a conviction. So with me saying that, and let me know if I said any of that incorrectly, but with me saying that, do you believe that people will start to come forward, or can you even say that if people have started to come forward?
So I will say this: within 24 hours of us announcing our initiative, we did get a call from the command staff at CPD, Chicago Police Department, and they said that their phone lines have not rung that much in a long time. Okay, which shows positivity. Now, are they speaking? Are they talking as much as they should? Absolutely not. That leads me to our next phase. We have to do something with the witness protection program. These individuals are scared. They're frightened. And they're rightfully so. It's like, so there's another part to this that has to be done. This is just the first part, but there is a phase 3. I mean, I told you about phase 1, I told you about phase 2, but there is a phase 3 that we're going to be announcing real soon, which deals with the witness protection program.
Okay, good deal. Let me ask you this. And I think we actually spoke about this on the phone, so this is something I guess we could talk about over the air. If these people are facing this type of violence, regardless of whether they tell or not, then why won't they just step up anyway? Because it's just kind of like you could go to the laundromat, you could go to the grocery store, the corner store, the gas station. You can go to the park. It doesn't seem like it matters what you decide to do. You could end up being a target. So it's like, why not tell anyway? Because there's a good likelihood that with this amount of people being injured and shot on a day-to-day basis, that you could end up being a target anyway.
I agree. Bullet doesn't have a name. So I 100% agree with you. Unfortunately, the way our people have been trained, the way we have been, it's one of those things where it's like I'd rather take the risk of not saying something, knowing directly that something will happen to me, versus saying something or not saying something, I should say, and I might have a possibility of being okay. I mean, which is sad because at the end of the day, as I stated, when we were on the phone, I mean, it's you today, but it could be me tomorrow. So unless we start standing up together as a people, unless we start getting fed up, and let's be honest, on a block, let's just say if you got a block of 100 families, out of that 100 families, 20 of those individuals on that block might be rotten, but you got 80 people that can stand up against those 20.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
And I'm just giving you just an example of what I mean. All of Chicago are not gangs. All of Chicago, but that's the mind frame. We have to change our mindset. We have to change the narrative. At the end of the day, if we could just grasp that there's 10% of Chicago is bad. 90%. The same way we told the streets up for George Floyd, you don't think if we were to sit here and put that same outrage, that same energy into us trying to save our communities and fight for us. But that just shows you. I just don't feel like we're tired enough yet. We're not.
Yeah. Let me ask you this real quick because I got a couple more questions. Like I said, I didn't want to take too much of your time. We had a person in the chat, and we are live, so people in the chat, if you guys have questions, I could definitely try to get them answered for you. They wanted to know, do you have T-shirts for the I'm Tellin, Don't Shoot? Or do you guys have any merch for that?
Yeah, actually we do. We do have T-shirts. Also, we're getting additional T-shirts made with different logos and different sayings as well. And so if you do follow us on social media for updates, we are on Facebook at I'm Tellin, Don't Shoot. Instagram at I'm Tellin, Don't Shoot, as well as follow us on our, check out our website, www.imtellindon'tshoot.com, for updates. We are going to be releasing T-shirts as well as other initiatives in other states. We want this to be a national movement. When I came up with this, I didn't even see the magnitude that this would have. When we launched this, I got calls from all over. Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New York, Texas, Atlanta, Philadelphia, everybody, New Britain. Everybody has been calling saying, I'm tired. How can we become a part of the movement? But that's the energy it's going to take everywhere.
Yeah, I like that. Ultimate. And by the way, I did put your link to your website in the description box of this video. So it's a hyperlink, so they'll be able to click it and it'll take them right there. But I did make sure and put that in there. So that'll be available if people either want to share it in the chat or if they happen to come to this video, they'll have a place where they know that they can get directly to your website. Couple more questions real quick. Just a personal question. Something I was thinking, why is it that people are surprised that when you live in high crime areas that something happens that affects their family? Like they're just like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like I didn't think anything like this would happen. And it's just like I think that people are smarter than saying stuff like that, because it's like if we in Texas or us in California or us in other states know how often people are being affected by this violence, how is it that you can live in this type of situation, these type of neighborhoods, in these areas, and not realize that this type of thing is going to probably hit your home?
Well, so that's where the resources come in at as it relates to the community. You might not be happy with the community you're in, but that might be the only community you can afford. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then what do? You deal with it, right? So I said that to say, oftentimes, and then it's all about the areas. Like I know people that have lived in certain areas, the west side of Chicago. So I grew up on the west side of Chicago, which is deemed one of the most dangerous parts of Chicago. So I was, blessed, two parents that I was able to move out of that area. So I know, both ends. I know the city life and I know the suburban life. But here's my point. There are several individuals that I know that didn't have that opportunity. And when I say didn't have the opportunity, this is from a generation to generation to generation. And if you're used to something, literally from the west side of Chicago to the south suburbs, it's like night and day. So you feel like you are in a whole nother world. Mm-hmm. So if you're raised that way and all you know is the west side of Chicago, you're not leaving the west side of Chicago. And then the other part you have to understand too is the violence is getting worse. So 10 years ago, we didn't have the issues we had now. Did we have violence? Absolutely. But was it to this magnitude? No. So that's my issue. And that's my point is that, you know, you can't really criticize individuals for staying in a certain community because if they don't have the resources or the means to move out of that community, or if all they know is that community, well, why are they leaving?
Yeah, I agree. Let me ask you this. There's somebody in the chat who asked, and I think I know the answer to this because I did listen to you guys' speech. But they asked, what is the plan for people with warrants that call in or go to the police? Like, do you want to answer that?
So, we have put out an initiative. If an individual is willingly turning themselves in, that we will try to the best of our ability to help. And I say try to because we are under consulting of attorney as far as what's legal, what's not legal, whatever the case is. But my whole initiative is that our main goal is to get the killers off the street. So I do want to offer help to these individuals because I do feel like it is some of these individuals, it is a mental disorder. It is a mental issue, but guess what? They need to be off the street. So to answer your question, we have said that, if an individual, does own up to their issues, own up to their mistakes. Because at the end of the day, let's be real. We understand these kids aren't the targets. These innocent bystanders aren't the targets. You got kids out here that are literally mentally messed up and just out here shooting. But they need to be off the street. So we are trying any and every, by all means necessary, to get these people off the streets.
All right, and I think that's pretty much all of my questions. I know that they are reposting your website, which is chicagosecretangel.com, or better yet, www.chicagosecretangel.com. They're reposting that in the chat. And again, that's going to be in the description box of this video. Do you want to kind of give any closing thoughts or let us know anything else that you want to say?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me. As I stated earlier, so I am known for the philanthropy work that I do throughout the community. I have not just started this initiative. I did not just wake up in the morning and start. I want to help people. I'm actually normally on the other end of this. I'm normally the guy that's helping the kid that lost their mom right before Christmas. I'm normally the guy that's helping the kids with a Thanksgiving meal, a turkey, whatever have you, right before Thanksgiving. And those are some of the things that we do. So if you do visit, my own personal website, www.chicagosecretangel, you'll see some of those things. So this is definitely a totally new brim. And it literally just got to the point where I'm fed up. I am a dad with young kids, and I worry about them. I am afraid. People tell me all the time, man, ain't you scared? Well, I'm scared, and ain't nothing happened yet. Mm-hmm. I'm scared to go outside now. So if I'm gonna be scared, I'd rather channel that fear into something that might possibly change something, And so at the end of the day, we can't complain and make all these complaints, and we're not doing anything ourselves because then that just puts us at a point where we're just as guilty as the next person that's pulling the trigger.
I agree. Lead by example. Look, brother, I want to thank you so much again, guys. This is Mr. Early Walker with I'm Tellin, Don't Shoot, as well as chicagosecretangel.com, and your other website is I'mTellingDon'tShoot.com. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, and again, man, I would like to thank you so much for really just being patient because my schedule is busy. I am not the best person at this type of thing, but I definitely thank you for giving me a chance to try to not only at least spread the word just a little bit, but we are definitely going to be trying to help as much as we possibly can in our own way, whether it be providing information, providing resources, or even just giving some more exposure. But where my heart is I definitely want to see the place where these people reside get better. I definitely want to see a change there, and I want to thank you so much for spending the time with me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Jay.
All right, man. It's an honor, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Yes, sir.